This bill will introduce a procedure that will allow owners to convert the classification of these homes to real property.
The Weekly Friedman, your source for the most essential information in the default industry, with your host, Adam Friedman.
Today we're discussing the New York Land Home Property Act, a bill that, if signed by the governor, will reclassify manufactured homes in New York as real property. Joining me today to discuss this bill and its potential impact is Friedman Vartolo counsel Anthony Ortiz. What is a manufactured home? What does that mean?
So a manufactured home is a different classification. It's really a property classification. So a manufactured home is typically either a modular home or it is a home that is almost like an RV on wheels. It has an axle, things of that nature.
This bill's been around for a long time, and I know we're still waiting the governor's signature here, but what's the difference between labeling this type of a home as a manufactured home or as real property? Like, does it matter?
Within the context of foreclosure, it certainly does. So for our business, when you seek to foreclose a manufactured home, it's treated as chattel in the REO stage. So in an effort to get around that, what you have to do is when you commence a foreclosure, you have to plead certain pedigree information. So you have to plead the year, the manufacturer, the dimensions, the serial number, and ideally the VIN. So this way, when you get through a foreclosure and you're in the REO posture, what is all that's left to do is to commence a replevin action under vehicle and traffic law or adhere to certain title underwriting requirements. So what we do in an effort to avoid the replevin action and comply with the title underwriter is to, in our complaint and at JFS, like I said, plead that pedigree information, but then also deem in the JFS that the manufactured or mobile home is deemed affixed to the land. And that's another key element of this bill that is introduced, the affidavit of affixation.
You know, in America, our banks like to lend on property. It's more standard. Do you think that this change, if it occurs, would impact lending? Like, I know it's speculative, but what do you think?
I can't speak to exactly lending, but what I do know is that this bill will increase the likelihood and the chance that you can alienate real property. So prior to this, manufactured homes were treated like vehicles. They were titled through the DMV. What this bill does, it introduces, and the implementation and the education on this remains to be seen. As you said, the governor hasn't even signed it. But what this bill will introduce is a procedure that will allow owners to convert the classification of these homes to real property if they are affixed to a permanent foundation and then meet certain criteria. So a system is proposed whereby owners can surrender the manufacturer's certificate of origin or title to the DMV and meet certain criteria. It can be treated as real property.
I would imagine there are lenders that are not willing to lend on manufactured homes because they're not property. But if you change it to property, it would open up more lending in those areas.
What I do know is that manufactured and mobile homes are certainly more widespread in northern and western New York. You have, especially in our business, you see a lot of downstream assignments of mortgage for these mortgages that are in northern and western New York. And they're far more used to this classification, this tax classification. In the city and on the island, you're really dealing with traditional 1 to 4 family homes.
Look, Anthony, I appreciate it. We'll continue tracking this as things move along, but your insight, it's very appreciated.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you for joining Anthony Ortiz and I on the Weekly Friedman, your source, the most essential information in the default industry. Thanks for tuning in and looking forward to seeing you next time.